Hey guys, so chapter 1024 of One Piece just came out, and this chapter brings a Yamato flashback. Another one, I guess, if you count the Ace one. Um, so yeah, I mean, if Yamato does end up becoming a Straw Hat, this might be her flashback. Um, whether or not the way it ends suggests that this definitely could be, the entire flashback. But I also could easily see it, continuing the next chapter, although probably not much longer, because I really don't see where else it could go. But we'll have to wait and see. But yeah, getting kind of ahead of myself here because the start of the chapter is actually kind of more of a go around, check in with everybody, see what the whole situation is throughout Onigashima. So like all the Straw Hats are now kind of communicating with each other, trying to group up. It looks like after defeating their respective members of the Toby Ropo or whatever it was they were dealing with. Um, which yeah, I mean that to me says we're going really into the end game of the arc, because Luffy obviously always defeats his enemy after everybody else, which means all the Straw Hats usually have some sort of thing to deal with. Um, you know, kind of bang their heads against the wall, together as a group while Luffy, beats the final bad guy. Stuff like the Buster Call and Enies Lobby or Oars and Filler Bark, that kind of thing. So it's going to be interesting to see what the Straw Hats do from now on. But yeah, it starts out with kind of a gag with Usopp. Um, we see his silhouette uh, imposingly sitting upon a alligator or crocodile smile. It looks like, um, whichever one. Um, as he announces that he took down two of the Flying Six, all by himself. Uh, um, and obviously a bunch of people are collapsing here and there. And the Beast Pirates are like, "Whoa, is he using Conqueror's hockey?" And obviously, Usopp doesn't miss the opportunity to play into that. He's like, "Yeah, of course it's me. I'm the mighty Usohachi, the Beast Hunter, of course. Those with weak resolve crumble before me, that kind of thing." So yeah, I mean, it's a gag, obviously, but Oda kind of teased us with Zoro in the same way with that scene with Queen. Kiku's arm fell from the ceiling. Zoro decided to get serious. He cut down a poo and yelled up at Queen. It was like, "Oh, this isn't a game. This is a war. And I'm here to cut down whatever he said, something along those lines." Um, and yeah, he at that point the ground started shaking because that was also when the I don't know, Nishima started flying due to Kaido's powers, and everybody looked at Zoro like, "Whoa, whoa, did you do that? Is that shaking some sort of project of Conqueror's haki?" And he was like, "Nah, no, what are you talking about? That's something else, obviously." So, like, people just thought at the time, "Oh, Otis is trolling us because he knows everybody thinks Zoro's going to get Conqueror's haki." But then, what? A little over 10 chapters down the line, he actually reveals, no, no, Zoro actually does have Conqueror's haki. So maybe the fact that he's um, toying or is doing a similar thing and toying with the fact of Usopp having Conqueror's haki maybe foreshadows that he will also have a similar thing. And Usopp also has that double thing going for him with the whole like his lies always come true. So like yeah, maybe he will have Conqueror's haki, um, but we'll have to see about that. But yeah, like I said, oh, and I should probably touch on this that the all the Beast Pirates collapsing was actually a product of Big Mom's Conqueror's haki, her fighting on the same floor against Kid and Law. Naturally had sent some blasts, which every which way, knocking people down, shockwaves produced from the big fight or whatever. But yeah, that's what's going on there. But yeah, Nami calls Frankie, um, and is trying to check up on the whole Luffy situation. What's going on with Luffy at the moment? They obviously have no idea because the last time they heard of it is when Momonosuke contacted them on the transponder sale, told them about the little like voice of all things conversation he had with Luffy. Um, but yeah, they kind of communicate. Frankie's defending the live hall from the influx of people coming out of the castle, Kato's castle. Um, because we obviously see that it is burning very bad in the next page. Obviously, we've seen that it's burning in quite a few ways. Initially, it was Orochi that started setting everything on fire as revenge for getting his head cut off, which, I mean, to be fair, is kind of understandable. I mean, I can't imagine most people would take that very well. Um, but yeah, also we saw Black Maria setting her like floor on fire from for some reason her Rosamageli, Grovageli, something, whatever. I keep trying to pronounce it, even though I have I have not since looked it up to try and confirm myself. And yeah, I keep trying, purely from memory, which doesn't really help much. But whatever the spider thing was breathing fire in that last fight. Um, and I feel like there was a third thing that was also producing fire, but I could be wrong. And we also see in this chapter a little bit later that one guy in Kid's crew, I think his name is literally just Heat, he is breathing fire as he tends to do, which may be heading to the whole fire business and whatnot. But the fire seems to be mostly on the third floor, but we see him on the fourth floor with Jinbei. Um, but yeah, uh, Brooks carrying Robin out of the area, the third floor. I think he was on also. Um, so, so yeah, Robin's just completely taken out after that fight with Black Maria, unconscious at the moment, being carried by Brooke, which is understandable. We actually learned in a Viva card recently that Black Maria actually has the second highest bounty of the Tobiropo, just barely. Most people assumed it was Who's Who was the highest, then Sasuke, then Black Maria, then Ulti, then Page One, and they were almost right. Black Maria and Sasuke are actually switched. Black Maria having a 480 million berry bounty, and Sasuke having I believe it was 472. It was 470 something. I think it was 472 though. Million berry bounty. So it's not that big of a difference, to be fair, but she's still technically the second highest Tokuropa member. Unless we want to crown Drake. I honestly don't know what Drake's bounty is, but I feel like it probably wouldn't be higher than that, right? Um, but yeah, but he's defected anyway, so it doesn't really matter. Uh, um, yeah, anyway, what else happens? Yeah, Jinbei gets contacted. I kind of already covered on that. People protecting the live hall so that Zoro and Sanji's fight with the lead performers don't get interrupted. We see all of the regional Yakuza and Kawamatsu sort of holding things off. We see. Well, well, actually, we change scenes, I should say, because then we go back to the roof to check in on Yamato versus Kaido again. We see them kind of duking it out, as kind of implied. We see Yamato use that rigging arrow technique again, the one she used to like uppercut Hacha, I think it was, way back. And Kaido obviously just easily kind of slaps it to the side. And he uses his own version of the technique, which we obviously can assume was the original, called Thunderous Arrow, which obviously Yamato cannot just block to the side. She actually gets sent flying back by it. She does, guard it, but she gets sent flying back to a rock or whatever. And she remarks on the fact that, oh, Kato, you're actually trying to, kill me. And she's like, yeah, of course I am. You're Odin. You're carrying Odin's heavy burden, and we're not playing around. This is a war, etc., etc. And Yamato says, "Oh, what's wrong with admiring him?" And that's when we get the big Yamato flashback, which is very interesting. Most people are less interested in Yamato in this flashback. and more so interested in the appearance of the Wano samurai that are locked up with her. So we see Yamato chained up against a pillar or whatever, all a bunch of peace pirates around, all unconscious. And Kaido's like, "Oh, did you do this?" He's like, "Yeah, I don't know. They just all kind of fell down when I was talking about how my name is Odin or whatever." Um, so yeah, we also see that Kaido's not like feeding her, so she's like, "Oh, I'm gonna starve to death. Please feed me." So naturally, Kaido does the only fatherly thing and trap her in a cage, or not a cage, a cave. Um, but yeah, so Yamato does indeed confirmed has conquers Haki, so that is pretty cool. Um, he or Kaido rather puts him in the cave, um, chains him up to a rock or whatever, and kind of just leaves him there. And he says like, um, and he puts obviously the bunch of samurai that are also caught in there with him, um, and he's like, "Oh, they're definitely gonna." And he gives the samurai swords to fight over like the single portion of food that they give him. Um, so Yamato's like, "Oh, the father, they're gonna resent me because I'm your son or whatever." And Kaido's like, "Oh, but I thought you were Odin." So like, you know, yeah, good piece of. I mean, I really like that moment. I think that's a good piece of dialogue. It's just solidifying Kaido as a villain, from my point of view. Um, but yeah, so while they're in there, we get to meet these three. Well, I say meet. We don't actually learn their names, but we can at very least strong. It's we basically do know one of them, um, which is obviously Shimotsuki Ushimaru, the man who who was stated last chapter to have looked similar to Zoro and as well as practiced very similar swordplay. Not three sword style, obviously, but like, just similar technique, I guess. Um, and these three samurai all decide to, give the portion of food that Kaido left to Yamato, because they're like, "Oh, samurai don't get hungry," which, that's something we saw way back in Punk Hazard when we first met Kinemon in Momonosuke. That's the whole reason Momonosuke ate the devil fruit in the first place, is that he refused to eat the actual food that they were giving him, and just sort of waited until he snuck off and found that fruit. So yeah, that's kind of been an active theme with the samurai that we've seen. So they're like, "Oh no, samurai are never hungry," so they give the food to Yamato. And yeah, we get a nice look at Ushimaru, and we also see that he wields a black blade. Whether or not he's actually just coating it with Haki or that's just a straight up black blade already, is, debatable. But he does seem to have some sort of black blade action going on over here. But yeah, um, and when Yamato asks who Ushimaru is, again, we don't know 100% sure if it's Ushimaru, but it's all but confirmed. At this point, he says, "How does a disgraced samurai meant to introduce himself? I'm nobody important." And I believe "nobody important" is also the name of the chapter. But yeah, getting a good look at our good friend Ushimaru, he definitely does strongly resemble Zoro. Many people are going so far as to just outright stick to the fact that he is outright Zoro's father, which I guess isn't impossible. But it'd be interesting to see how that works, because the Zoro is obviously 21 years old, and all the Hour of Legends, all the retainers jumping into the future would have happened 20 years ago. So then Zoro would have been born, a year before the Hour of Legends, pretty much, and at some point left the country. I guess it's not necessarily had to have left the country before the Hour of Legends, but I feel like it's probably it probably would have gotten a lot harder after Odin had died. I can only imagine. So I mean, presumably Zoro would have been in one if Zoro was actually or Shimotsuki Ushimaru. I was trying to combine Ushimaru and Shimotsuki together for some reason. Assuming that he is actually his father, like many of people have solidified their beliefs on, then he would have, been around during Odin's whole, dancing thing, dancing in the street show. Zoro would have been a Wano during that and left at some point. So yeah, I guess we'll have. So I mean, if this definitely seems very strongly that we're going to get more information on Zoro this arc, whether that be a flashback of some sort, a second flashback for Zoro, or just a straight up exposition dump. It definitely seems very strongly that Zoro's going to get a lot of information regarding his character in this arc. So it's very exciting to see how that will play out. If he gets another flashback, that definitely would be very exciting, since he rather notoriously has the flashback, which is probably most widely considered the worst among the Straw Hats by the most amount of people. The whole fall down the stairs situation. But yeah, in any case, Yamato and all the samurai. As for the other samurai, it's kind of less clear who they are. I guess the most safe assumption would be that they're the other daimyos of the other regions. Although I guess we don't know for sure. Obviously, although Shimotsuki Ushimaru was obviously both a samurai and a daimyo, we know that's not a necessity to becoming a daimyo, because Yasui, I mean, as far as we could tell, definitely wasn't a samurai. So, like the other daimyos, I assume they didn't necessarily have to be samurai either. But although if I had to guess, I would say the most reasonable guess for who these two people are would probably be the other daimyos. But yeah, we don't really get much on them. So yeah, they sort of bond over Odin's logbook. Yamato's like, oh, there's too many big words, I can't really read it. So they all kind of bond over that together. And they decide to bet on Yamato being one of the big factors that help free Wano in the future. So they decide to let her live by breaking out and going to face Kaido right then. So they do that, and that's where the flashback ends. And as the final scene of the chapter, we get a big Thunder Bagua clash between Yamato and Kaido. And I gotta say, how Kaido is drawn in this panel is absolutely raw. Very cool looking. But yeah, other than that though, yeah, very solid chapter. A lot of stuff to think about. We've really been getting, 10 out of 10 mixes of both lore dumps and action these past couple of chapters. So I'm very excited to see what else happens, I guess. We have obviously one more chapter to go before break. We've got this whole nice 4 chapters in a row thing going on because of the triple page spread thing that happens to the World Top 500, so that's pretty cool. World Top 100, sorry, I don't know why I called it 500. But yeah, both that being said, I don't really think I have anything else to say in this chapter, so see ya.